Episode 2 of Whiskey and Kicks.
Brocky, thank you for coming down to Blue Dyer.
Absolutely.
Again.
I'm here with my man Ryan Veerheller. I had to practice that name. This is Brocky. We're here again, Whiskey and Kicks, at the Blue Dyer Distilling Company in Waldorf, Maryland.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure, man.
So, what is Blue Dyer?
What is a Blue Dyer, right? I think we put that on the website. What is a Blue Dyer? It's a colonial occupation of making dye. The blue dyer, as opposed to the dyer who made other colors. The other colors were just boiled solutions. Indigo and woad required you to create, ferment, and distill an industrial alcohol to soak that plant material in because it wasn't water soluble.
Okay.
So the blue dyer had to have knowledge of botany, chemistry, and distillation, whereas the non-blue dyer, the dyer, was just kind of doing their thing in a vat with heat. Our first relative who came to this country settled in Adams County, Pennsylvania, 1720. He was a chemist, a physician, but he went by Blue Dyer. In every document, we have historical documents, his will, letters to his kids, he writes, I, William Werman, comma, Blue Dyer, comma.
Right.
When you throw that in your will, it's a pretty important nickname.
Absolutely.
And he did a lot of things. He was a farmer, he was a miller. He made some corn whiskey and traded with Indians when the other Quakers weren't trading with Indians.
That's dope.
And you fast forward about 8, 9 generations, my great-grandfather starts bootlegging down in Stafford, Virginia, and he doesn't want to use his real name while he's out committing felonies, so he says, and he knows the story of our first relative, Blue Dyer, so he picks up the Blue Dyer moniker and starts using it as his nom de guerre while bootlegging. His son, my grandfather, of course, gets to be 10 or 11 and starts helping them in the woods and ends up having an early bootlegging career in his life and is going by the Blue Dyer. And it kind of grew to the point that was like their unofficial illegal brand name, like Blue Dyer whiskey.
So people kind of knew them by that name.
Right.
Okay, that's dope.
So when we decided to open the distillery, I mean, the name was a no-brainer. It was like,
it makes all the sense.
I grew up hearing all the stories of granddad and great-granddad and all their bootlegging exploits and the Blue Dyer bootlegging stories. So yeah, the granddad, he just packaged this thing up for me and handed it to me, and it took me,
So when, how old are you guys? When did you start?
So we incorporated the business in 15. We were in the building here in 15. The idea to launch the business was the 2nd of January, 2015. We sold our first bottle July of 16, and today we have 4 products on the market. We're in 3 states, and by the spring we'll have 6 products on the market, and we're also going to New York City, so we'll be in 4 states. And I just had I had a light bulb moment. I wasn't happy with my career, and the wife and I went and toured a little distillery in Brooklyn, and I just looked at her before we went home and said, we're going to go back to Southern Maryland and open the distillery because this is awesome.
So I came here for a tour, maybe a couple weeks ago on a Saturday, and you spoke about your granddad kind of involving you into the process of
all right, so granddad
making booze.
Granddad stopped selling distilled spirits in the mid-40s. His father got caught and served some prison time for running liquor up into Alexandria and DC from Stafford. Granddad never stopped making alcohol. He seemed to enjoy it. So he made your standard Virginia White Lightning. He made some fruit brandies from fruit trees on his property.
Okay.
He made a dandelion wine that I think he was the only person who liked it. But out of 12 grandchildren, we all have stories of Granddad walking up on us at the farm with a clay jug going, hey boy, take a nip of that.
Hell yeah.
I mean, as young as like 5 or 6, he'd try to get you to take a shot of moonshine. And so I think I was about 13. I worked a farm every summer from 12 to 20. And when I was there, I hated it because it was like, oh, why do I have to get up hay while these people are at the beach? My cousins and my siblings. And then when you look back on it and you're like, I know how to hang sheets of drywall on roof, and I can drive a tractor, and I know how to run a TIG welder. And people are like, where'd you learn that? Granddad.
Right.
So you look back on it very positively.
I assume that your granddad's essences and all this furniture and all this stuff that you made.
He's on the wall.
By hand,
he's up there. I don't know if he's smiling down saying that we're doing good, or if he's looking at me going, oh boy, you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Right.
People are like, well, what would you do if he was here? I said, I don't know if he'd be managing us, telling us we didn't know what we were doing, or if he'd just be smiling from ear to ear, proud of us. I'm not, a little both, probably. But yeah, the bar, stools, our tables and benches, they're all built from wood that was a barn that was milled by Granddad and Great-Granddad on the farm in Stafford.
It's crazy, man.
And we have Great-Granddad's, one of his still boiler pots and the cap and pipe, and we mocked up to show how it might have run in the woods. But the pot itself, this is over 100 years old, handmade by Great-Granddaddy. And as the story goes, in their heyday, they had 12 of these 45-gallon pots running in the woods. That's not bad for a couple of country boys in Stafford, Virginia. When we charge our stills with beer, it's only a 350-gallon charge. If they were running 1240s, they were at 480.
They were killing it.
So I'm not even beating Granddad.
Shit. This is way back then.
That's what I'm saying. They were pretty respectable, you know, stream side operation they had going on.
So you do have a partner?
Yes. Walker Dunbar. We worked together at Bladensburg City Police. We weren't that close. He was just like the best, most competent guy on my squad. I was the squad supervisor. And when I came home and started planning the distillery, he kind of got wind of it. And after a few weeks, he was helping me do the research. And then one day I get a call on our day off, and he's like, hey, I found out there's a national barrel shortage, and I called around to a few barrel companies, and it turns out there's a waiting list. And I mean, I already know what the name of the distillery is going to be, so I went ahead and put us on the list.
Nice.
And when I heard that word, us. I was like,
right.
So we need to have an ancillary conversation related to what you just said.
Right.
Do you want to be my partner in this? And he was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And within a week, I mean, we hashed out the details, and
that's dope.
Yeah. Now since then, of course, he's been the best man at my wedding. I mean, we're inseparable now. But yeah, our friendship really grew over launching this project. So
how was that moment? Like I thought about this since I was here last time. That moment when you decided, or you guys decide, we're gonna stop what we're doing now as a profession and do this.
I mean, there was a transition. So when we opened the business, we were still working our full-time jobs, but we knew that the plan was to get over here full-time. I mean, for me, it was like I had an epiphany. Like, how do you know when you're underwater that you need to swim to the top and breathe? That is the way that I felt that day when I was like, this is what you're gonna do. Like,
absolutely.
God takes you places and puts you in things, and sometimes you realize it, sometimes you don't. And that day I just realized it. Like,
that's dope.
Granddaddy packaged up this, I don't want to say a backstory, but the business, even if he didn't realize he did it, like, that's what he left me. I mean, he left me with the skills and the tools and the ability and the knowledge to do what we've done here.
Started you off when you were, what you said, 8 years old,
Right.
5 years old,
yeah, the first,
sipping on moonshine.
Five, yeah.
5 years old.
There's a story of me getting drunk at 5, and my mom read him the riot act up at a holiday get together.
Here I am thinking about. My son's 16. I'm thinking about giving him something so I can discourage him from stealing from my stash and I'm not around here.
Right.
Here your granddad is feeding it to the 5-year-olds.
He was a character. Because we have a 19-year-old, and it's funny, he'll come in here and help, and it's like, he's such a good kid, better than I deserve. And he's like, Dad, only 2 more years till I can try some. And it's funny because the state won't let him pour a drink. But once he's 18, he can work in the manufacturing facility. So he can pour a 5-gallon bucket or do a 300-gallon transfer, but he can't put an ounce in a cup.
I mean, that's funny. That's funny. And, you know, I mean, not to get too deep, but you guys are really starting some generational wealth here. That's cool with your kids being involved and everything. So that's a really good thing.
That's what we talked about. One of my favorite things is, so we have two boys, 5 and 19, that we brought to the marriage. And the 19-year-old got to sort of see on the tail end of his youth, Dad say, you know what, this profession and this life is not really treating me fair. Like, I'm gonna do my own thing. So he got to see that. And it's like you plant seeds with your children, so you never really know what's gonna stick and what doesn't.
Absolutely.
But he got to see Dad just rearrange things with the singular purpose, like, I'm gonna do better for us and for our family. The 5-year-old, we started the project, he was just turning 2. He still, if he's here today, if he walks in the door, I'll say, Kane, what is this place? And he'll go, it's the juice factory.
That's dope.
But what I love about that is I took him with me when I went to Baltimore to SDAT to register the Articles of Incorporation. I got my 3-year-old hand in hand.
Hell yeah.
For him, the most normal thing in the world is going to be to just have an idea and just will it into existence. I mean, he's just going to grow up thinking that's
the norm.
Versus, going $100 grand in debt to get a college degree. You can only make 35 entering the marketplace and
about it.
Be, I was a disciple of it. I got a master's degree and a healthy student debt loan, and I was working at a place, trying to make it to my 30-year retirement. And one day I just realized, like, I could die here and have been miserable the whole time.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of moments in doing this where, trust me, there's days where I'm like, everything's gonna be fine. I am the ringleader, and there's other days where I'm hugging the wife going, honey, it's all gonna fall apart.
Were there any major hurdles that you guys faced when starting Blue Dyer?
Tons. Capital, regulations, the permitting process. You actually have to get the whole place built, have every piece of major equipment sitting in place, have a use and occupancy permit before you can even apply for the federal permit, and all the permits. And Walker and I, we called ourselves the Get Shit Done crew. We got through every permit flawlessly as fast as possible, and it was a year of just sitting in here paying rent without the ability to bring in any income.
Whew, man.
And that almost broke us.
I bet.
Yeah.
You guys stuck it through it, man. Listen, I'm happy this glass is telling me that I'm happy. I'll tell you that myself. So what am I drinking?
Whiskey distilled from a Bourbon Mash. It's our second product. It's a Bourbon Mash whiskey. It goes in a American oak cask, some from Kentucky, some from northern Minnesota. And then we run Southern Maryland sourced charred cherry wood inserts in all those casks. So it's a unique American whiskey. Cherry is not widely utilized because it's a very tricky wood to work with. The darker hues are bitter when you char them, and the lighter hues have a waxy kind of smell to them. So there's like a little Goldilocks zone of wood color that once charred gives the whiskey a sweet finish. I try to do all my flavors as naturally as possible. I try to construct my spirits with the minimal amounts of flavors possible to be a high quality spirit and have complex flavors. But I'm never looking to overpower the spirit base with flavor. I'm a minimalist construction guy, and I like to source my flavors from natural sources. Because here's the thing, if you try this whiskey and you enjoy it, a good mixologist can take it anywhere.
Get that right.
But I don't want to put heavy flavor in it so that you can't understand that the underlying quality of the spirit is high.
Right.
I want everybody to notice I don't mix cocktails here. Everybody gets served the liquor straight up. And it's humbling and flattering how many positive reviews and responses we get from people saying, I don't even drink liquor straight. I'm a wine person. But the Blue Dyer was so smooth that I would drink that.
Dude, it's beyond smooth. Like I had a party in my house back in December of last year, I think it was. And someone brought me a bottle of Blue Dyer rum. I said, this shit is good. Like, it didn't have all the extra stuff in it.
Right.
And this is straight rum. Yeah. I mean, it's good stuff.
Just sort of what I think. A lot of times Walker and my strength has been that we were from outside the industry. So we're coming with our own common sense. And in anything, I think the worst answer, like, why do we do this in this industry? And when someone says, because that's what everybody else does, automatically the worst answer. Like, it is. It always is. I don't care where you go. That situation plays itself out. But we looked at what everybody was doing, and we said, let's just make some really quality classic spirits with. In everything, I think the American public has been gimmicked to death. There's a gimmick, there's a hack, there's a this, there's a that. Name the industry. We've been gimmicked to death. when you just find a high quality classic product or service, no matter where it is, whether it's the guy making liquor down the street or whether it's this plumber who just does a good job, shows up on time and is honest and fixes the stuff for a reasonable price, we're taken aback because we've been so used to being like, all right, well, what's the gimmick? How are they trying to stick it to me?
Right.
When you find a quality classic in anything anymore, it's become the rarity. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to just old school quality classics.
So initially, what was your intentions? What was the first spirit? You said, I want to make
rum. No, yeah, we were going to be a rum company. I was giving interviews and I called myself a rum company. And we were all Jameson drinkers. The wife, my partner, and I. And we made the rum and we said, well, we're going to make a whiskey drinker's rum. We're going to do the flavor all from oak aging, add no sugars to build the flavor or color base. We loved it. We brought in barrels from 9 different areas of the country. We made our base rum. We put it in all the different barrels. And then, you know, for the business and for science, we drank it all. Product evaluation is an important part of what we do. And the Northern Minnesota barrel, we loved it. It had all the caramel and vanilla it needed, but not the overly sweet, syrupy result from sugar additions.
That's a good word, the syrup.
It's very clean caramel taste. And it was kind of a risk though, because although higher quality rums that lend more of their flavor to their barrel aging and less to dumped in sugars are making a comeback, it was kind of like, this is like rumski. It's like rum and whiskey kind of had a baby here.
Right.
We love it, but what is the market going to think of this? Because there's places that the rums we try like 150 rums, and we sat around and talked rums. Which ones did we like? And we liked the rums that did more from the barrel.
Trying 150 rums sounds like something I would want to be involved in.
Right?
Go ahead, though.
You know, we liked El Dorado. We liked Ranzacapa. We liked Havana Club. We liked Papa Pilar. And when you look into how these rums, these higher quality rums are constructed, they get maybe 80, 90% of their flavor off the barrel aging and have small sugar additions. So we were already leaning that way, but we're like, hey, you know what? Let's take it to the limit. Let's go all wood. I don't know a soul who's doing an all wood rum. And for us, I try to do clean classics, but I also try to have a unique element about every spirit I'm going to put in a bottle and sell. And here's why. If all I do is make an unremarkable rum and an unremarkable whiskey, and people say, well, it's good, but it's not great. There's nothing special about it. It's just another bourbon, just another rum. And I can't sell as low as national brands because I'm handcrafted and I'm small, so my price is higher. The only thing that I have to sell in is a circle. And inside that circle, I can go to places and be like, hey, buy this, I'm super local.
Yeah.
Now, when I get outside of that circle and get inside of somebody else's circle, I got nothing.
Right.
If I do something unique in every spirit, it's unique and it's good and people like it and I keep my prices reasonable, I can sell anywhere because I'm going to walk up and say, hey, you know, I don't know 15 whiskeys in the world that are made with charred cherry wood. Try this.
This is my first time trying one.
Right?
Here.
Now, it's worked. This strategy has worked. There is a downside. My hardcore bourbon folks are like, nope, it's different than a true bourbon whiskey. I don't like it. There's something different going on. I'm so bourbon, I can't appreciate another wood flavor in there. And I respect that. You like what you like.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
People who like it are like, I like it because it's different.
Yeah, and I like it because it's different.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not expecting it to be a bourbon. So what made you go whiskey instead of bourbon?
We found out in the beginning, we made the rum and we were thrilled with it. We said, all right, we're going to launch it. We went and talked to distributors and no distribution company wanted us. We were too new. We didn't have a big marketing and advertising budget to back our product launch. So we literally, we went to 6 distribution companies and everybody said no to us.
Wow.
So we went and borrowed their money and got our own distribution license. And it was like, oh no, this isn't working out according to the business plan. We viewed it as such a negative experience. Best thing that ever happened to us. For 9 months, Walker and I had to go be the foot soldiers of our own distribution.
To get your shit out there.
Where we met all the players, met the managers, met the owners, met the restaurateurs, did the deliveries. We learned the market from the ground, from the inside out, just from our own perspectives. Not with somebody saying, hey, this is how this is done. After 9 months, we were in over 100 accounts in Maryland, and the distributors were calling and emailing. One of them was waiting here one day when I opened the door because I hadn't called him back. And so we met with them. We met with them all, and we chose the smallest one to get our product out into the world. But it was while we were out there doing the distribution, we learned the market. So I mean, our business plan, we were going to make we were going to make moonshine and quart jars, and that we learned was a pet rock. Like it had a spike in popularity about 3-4 years ago with the show. But as we were out there talking to package store owners and managers, they're like, we bought a bunch of this stuff, and now it's all in the clearance racks. It's not selling. So we learned firsthand that aged spirits rule the market. Whiskey rules that group. There's 5 bottles of whiskey sell for 1 bottle of everything else in the liquor store. And it was kind of like, hey man, in anything, you're playing a football game and you have a play and it's your go-to play, but it's not working. Absolutely. You got to call an audible, and you got to do it in real time. And the best quarterbacks are the ones to recognize that quicker.
Right. All right, so tell us a little bit about your aging process. I thought it was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, we're magicians. we make stuff taste like it's been aged for a year or two, and we do it in a few months. In the beginning, it was really just out of necessity. Like, we don't have the capital to have a barrel warehouse, put down $1 million of product, and wait 4 years to get the first dollar back. So there's a few pioneers in craft spirits of accelerated aging, few whiskeys, great products, award winners. Quite a few other. Hudson Bay up out of upstate New York. Yeah, no, Hudson. Maryland and upstate New York are kind of separating themselves right now in the spirits world for craft spirits as hubs of large groups of quality producers. And it's kind of neat that, because we didn't know how it would play out as this craft industry boomed, but you're seeing a large concentration of quality producers in both of those regions. So we didn't invent accelerated aging, and the age of the internet, like, everything's out there. People are talking about what they do. The companies that make the products are willing to help you learn about what you do. But there's sort of like several tenets to allow you to age a spirit faster. So I'll give you the quick science. Charring wood, you make carbon, you caramelize sugars. Caramelized sugars soak in the liquor. They give it color and flavor. The carbon bonds to negative taste components like acetic acid, stays bonded. So when you dump the barrel out, the bad stuff stays bonded in the carbon. All the barrel does. So you can speed up the sugar extraction if you throw more surface area of charred wood at the liquor in a shorter amount of time. Right. So we do smaller barrels, which has a higher ratio of charred wood to liquid than a bigger barrel. We do additional charred staves that hang down in the barrel from the underside of the bung. One of these staves has as much surface area as a whole 10-gallon barrel. So if we hang 5 staves in a 10-gallon barrel, that liquor is in 6 simultaneous barrels in terms of sugar extraction. That we can speed up. But we cannot speed up the carbon bonding. I can't make a 6-month aged spirit that tastes like the 21 Balvenie. There's been people doing a lot of experiments with ultrasound and pressure and all kinds of different things. And I don't think any of them are panning out. Now, you can make product that is of quality. We want our silver medal with a 3-month aged rum. What's on our market starting January 1 will be a year aged rum. Because while I say you can speed the process up, I will also say this. Every time we left liquor in the barrel longer than it minimally needed to, it only got better. It never gets anything but better the more time you can give it. So, can you make good products quicker? Yes. Big liquor looks down their nose at these processes like it's undesirable or there's something wrong with us, and I thank God for that, because if all of a sudden Jim started running 10-gallon barrels and getting their product life cycle from 4 years down to 7 months like us, we'd lose this one little competitive advantage we have in the craft industry. So for right now, it's just like I was saying in our sidebar before. What's the worst reason to do something? Because this is what we've always done. there's better, more efficient technology, and small operators are leveraging it to get a foot into the market.
This guy's pretty fucking smart. It's almost like he graduated from Georgetown University or something.
I went to Maryland. In Maryland. Studied chemistry for no reason, and then education for no reason. Except maybe I was getting ready for this and I didn't know it.
You didn't know it, man. He's doing a good fucking job here. So, are there any plans for a bourbon?
Not right now, and I'm never gonna say no. Like in the beginning, we made rum and whiskey, and people said, "What about gin?" And I said, "We're never gonna make gin." Now we have two gins, and one of them I'm dearly in love with. The other one I'm very proud of, but I love as a personal drink the barrel gin. We get a lot of requests for vodka. I tell people, I don't know if we're gonna get into vodka. That market's saturated. The players have, deep pockets. It's hard to compete. I like to do unique products because if our next whiskey's port finish whiskey, we imported some casks from Portugal.
Can't wait for that.
I'm very excited about it, but there aren't 20 or 30 port finish whiskeys, and I don't think there's a dozen American port finish whiskeys on the market. So again, it's a niche that people like. It's growing. We'll make a good product. We'll introduce a lot of local folks to it for the first time. But when we go to areas where there's a little bit more of an alcohol culture, people already know what it is. There's enough products out there so that people know they like it, but they're like, hey, this is a new local player doing something that we know we like, that's not ubiquitous. So it's easier for us to compete against a dozen products than, thousands.
True indeed. Any single barrel or small batches?
Well, interestingly enough, when we started, all our rum was single barrel bottlings. And the liquor industry for 80 years after Prohibition, big liquor owned liquor. And so they dictated what's good and what isn't, and they wrote words on labels, and they trained us, the consumer, to believe this is superior, single barrel. Well, single barrel is superior only when that's the best barrel in the batch of 43 that you put down. Here's the problem. What about the guys they're close, they're pretty good. They're not quite as good as these 3 all-star barrels. And we experienced that. Barrel number 25 of our first batch of rum was better than, we did 50 barrels of rum at once. And this one barrel was like literally 3 times as good as everything else for no reason, same rum, same room. And I pulled it and served it at our wedding. I was like, this is so good. So single barrel is good, but for an operator like us, because you're only gonna get a few honey barrels, single barrel is a tough road. And what I've found over 2+ years of producing spirits is that good blending allows you to have a better quality, consistent product across entire batches. So I'm an advocate of blending. When people say single barrel, I say you usually get worse liquor out of single barrel. You get more complex flavors and better spirits out of blending. And the proof is in the pudding. I think there's thousands of master distillers in the world. There's 13 master blenders. Distilling is a science.
That's crazy, yeah.
Blending is an art.
Yeah, I hear you. That's a nice approach. I've never heard it that way, so that's pretty dope. So you guys are a young distillery.
Yes.
From what I understand, you guys have some success as far as awards.
Our first product, last year we took it to the American Distilling Institute annual judging of craft spirits. There's a lot of competitions out there, but for craft spirits, that one issues the fewest awards per entries. I'm not gonna name names, but there are some where almost if you enter, you get a bronze. And so that's kind of like in school, they call that a diploma mill. ADI, I think it's like 4 out of 10 place period, 1 gold, maybe 2 or 3 silvers, and maybe 4, 5, 6 bronzes in every category with hundreds of entrants. So that's where we went. We said, hey, and the only reason we entered was because it was judged this year in Baltimore. We could drive out to it. We didn't need travel money. We thought if we can take a bronze, for us as a 9-month-old company, that's a gold medal.
Hell yeah.
It was crazy. I went in the thing and they had all the bronzes on one series of movable walls listed out, and I went over and I waited through the crowd and I looked on the thing for bronze, for rum, and didn't see our name, and walked away. I didn't even bother to push down and look at the silvers because in my mind that wasn't happening. we're hanging out in the pre-dinner reception, and a lady gets on the microphone and is like, Blue Dyer Distilling. Is anybody here from Blue Dyer? And I was like, oh, me, what's up? She's like, did you want your silver medal? I was like, huh? Do I?
Absolutely.
Excuse me? And so that was kind of a turning point for us. We knew we had a quality product, but I feel like in the industry, we were such outsiders. A lot of times we kind of weren't being taken that seriously in the first year. And when we had a big award behind our product, all of a sudden, people gave us a little more deference. Like, okay, these guys are competent operators at least, if not, you know. And so it definitely helped out. Like, we're in a three-way tie for rum in the state of Maryland, as far as awards go, with 2 other distilleries. Of course, we're about half the price on the shelf as those guys.
Okay.
And that's been a key to our success. Like, again, I have 2 pillars here, quality and value. I try to make high quality products. I try to keep them at reasonable price points in the market so more people can enjoy them more regularly.
So are you guys considered craft distillers?
We are.
Legal? Is that legally defined?
No, it's not. It's defined by some of the associations. Certified craft according to the American Distilling Institute and the American Craft Spirits Association. So you got the ADI and the ACSA, and these are, you know, industry associations, member financed, member backed. Basically, if the operator owners own 75% of the business, and there's a limit on the number of annual gallons produced, you can be certified craft. We are certified craft. Walker and me today. I mean, the bank owns everything, right? The bank owns our houses, the bank owns our cars, but we own enough of the business to be true craft. So it's kind of funny, like right now there's craft and then there's crafty, because there's a lot of corporate money slipping into craft, masquerading as craft. I mean, there's a distillery in Maryland that recently got a helicopter pad.
Holy shit, are you kidding me?
And that's not craft, man.
No.
You say what you want, but you know,
that's a big deal.
There's no helicopter tours here at Blue Dyer. Just good liquor and some good stories about some country folks who used to make them.
Right.
But
so, what satisfies you most about being a distiller? What brings the most joy to you?
I like making liquor. If that was all I had to do, I'd be really happy. It's highly regulated. I mean, from the time I pay for the raw material, when I bring it in the door, every time I move it through every step, I mean, there's copious amounts of paperwork, heavy taxes on our industry, although it may change this week. So a lot of people are kind of down on this current bill, but I'm secretly over in the corner like, yay, because it would lower some taxes on our industry in particular, and literally that would be the difference tomorrow if it was passed.
Right.
I'd write myself my first paycheck after 3 years of working here.
Have you seen Blue Dyer evolve in any ways that you didn't expect from the time that you started the business?
Okay, so if you ask me, everything's terrible and it's going slow and we're not making any money. But if you ask everybody else, they have to pull me aside and remind me, like, dude, you've done what peers have done in 5 years and a year, and then in the second year, like, the wife had to show me a picture. She said, 2 years ago today, we didn't even have walls here, honey. Like, you're killing it. And I'm like, no. But listen, I'm running from a tiger, man. I got to run fast. The fear behind me, like, I feel it.
Right.
So, but nothing we've done is unexpected. Maybe some of the directions we've gone in products. But it's so, like the gin, for instance. Gin wasn't on my radar. Our distributor really wanted us to make a gin once they started moving our rum and whiskey. And I said, I'm not that into gin. They said, it moves great in the urban markets. Gin's making a big resurgence. We'd really like to see a gin from you. And I said, okay, well, economically it will help the business to have another product. Right. But before I can commit, the only experience I have in gin is like bad gin. Young drinker, bad gin. I said, I need to go see some of the craft houses that I respect, the operators that I respect and I'm friends with. I need to see what they're doing with gins. I know And I tried the, up in Frederick, there's one, McClintock. They got a great gin, highly reviewed. I got a lot of respect for those guys. And I went over to 1-8 in DC, and I tried their products. And I tried to go a few other places. I just wasn't received. Like, we're closed today, go away. 1-8, the guys, it was like a random Monday afternoon, knocked on the door, they sort of, who are you? And I told them, they're like, oh, come on in. Yeah. Gave me the grand tour, rolled out the red carpet, nicest guys in the world. And it was, I tried their gin, which I liked, but then I tried barrel gin for the first time, and I was like, wait a minute, now I really want to make gin so I can get some in some barrels. That's amazing, I love that. So there have been some surprises there, but it's like anything. How do you know? It goes back to Dr. Seuss, right? You don't know what you like till you try it.
You got that damn right. I tell everybody, you like gin. You just don't know it yet.
Right now, gin's weird. The craft movement is going to like multiple botanicals, and we sort of went the other direction. But it was a predictable direction if you talk to me long enough. 2 flavors, dead classic, dead smooth.
Oh, that's what you guys did with the
gin? Right,
gin?
just the 2, just citrus and juniper. You know.
Yeah.
But then, like, once I tell you about my product ideology, that makes perfect sense. Like, of course he was going to go classic and not
the gin's amazing. And I'm actually your regular gin. I'm infusing it with hibiscus right now.
I saw.
So I'll see how that turns out in a few days. So look, I want to talk to Jasmine. Jasmine, what do you like to drink the most out of the collection here? What do you like?
Let's say I am more into the rum.
Mm-hmm.
It's the baby. It's what this place was built on. Like, I do enjoy the whiskey. I do.
When I let her have a bottle.
Yeah, the rum is whiskey-ish.
We're not allowed to really dabble in the whiskey. It's against the rules. We can't make it fast enough to enjoy it as freely as we would like to.
Yeah, right.
But the rum was like I said, it was the baby, and he bought a bottle home after we found the facility. After he spent 15 years being the police.
Right.
I had no idea about his family's deep-rooted history
and booze.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
How's the irony there?
Here's the thing. My mom was really into rum. I wasn't much of a drinker, but rum was her thing. And when we got together, and he decided that he no longer wanted to be the police, he wanted to make alcohol. I was like, okay, cool, that's okay. I'm gonna support you in whatever you want to do. But I'm not sure how long production on the first batch took, but he brought a bottle home, no label, no nothing, and he handed it to me. And
she didn't even know it was coming.
I had no idea.
How awesome is that?
She just knows I've been here working for like a year and a half.
And I'm just like, I'll support you in whatever you want to do, but I had no knowledge that he could actually pull this off. So he came home with the bottle, no label, nothing, and he was like, here it is, taste it. And I was like, okay. And I took a sip, and the only thing I could think to say was, it's not that I ever doubted you, but this is amazing. Like, I can sit here and drink this.
That's awesome.
And I've been drinking it ever since.
So that is fucking awesome.
And I've turned that into a ritual. So with every first product, the very first bottle, I don't even put a label on it. I mean, I got to count it in the accounting as bottle 1. So I say those bottles up on the shelf are the ceremonial firsts.
But
because
really,
all the first of every product of every batch went home without a label to the wife for the final, check off. Like,
is that not how it works? I mean, come on.
There you go, honey. We got a new one.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. All the reactions aren't the same.
Right.
The rum was just like, I've never seen you do this before. This is great.
It touched your soul.
It did. I was just like, whoa. Okay. The whiskey, I was just like, this is great, but I'm going to stay
on the
Team
rum.
Rum.
Team
Because that's
rum.
where I am, and my loyalty is strong. The gin I was really surprised about because I feel like everybody has a gin story. You either love gin or you hate gin, and if you hate gin, it's because you have a gin story. Like,
I have too
I
many
almost
gin
died
stories.
this night. See? And I would really like to hear about those
We
later.
had a guy in
A lot of
here,
gin
and we
stories.
asked him if he wanted gin, and he held up his hand, and he was missing like one section of his pinky, and went, "Gin's how I lost my pinky." I was like,
See what I mean?
"Oh my God, no gin for you, sir."
Would you like some more rum?
Oh, gosh.
But the crazy thing is the barrel aged gin. I got so upset with them. Like, okay, at this point you're just making shit up.
Oh, he's just showing
Like,
off.
Exactly. Like, this is not even something that you can sell to people because who puts gin in a barrel is stupid. Nobody wants that. And he was just like,
Drink
taste
it.
And I sipped it and I was just like, all right, okay. I got hints of gingerbread from the very first bottle that he gave me, and I was just like,
Wow.
this is interesting. And then when he told me, like, you know, people who enjoy gin, enjoy barrel-aged gin during, like, the winter months. They can mix it with different things. And I was just like, I can see how that's very possible. I mean, I have a few gin stories myself. I'm sure
Yeah,
we can exchange
buddy.
those later.
I'm talking
But,
about that on camera right
I
now.
was very pleasantly surprised with every product that
That's dope.
he's put out.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I can tell by the way Ryan talks, and then throughout the course of this segment and everything, he's always kind of, you know, the energy is kind of going over to Jasmine, and it's coming back from Jasmine.
She all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
She's cool.
You know, had to be somebody behind it. Yeah, right. Let's talk to Jasmine. Shoes. What do you like to wear on your feet, and why?
I prefer UGG Australia.
Uggs. Uggs.
Yeah, why? I have bad feet.
She's got a pretty face, but
Yeah, that. No, I have flat feet. So I put pressure on really strange areas in my foot, and Uggs are the only boots, shoes, whatever, that allow me to be comfortable throughout the day. Now, that's not to say that I won't wear anything else, but it is my footwear of choice.
Good.
I enjoy New Balance. That's pretty much I'm not sure, people have had debates about where the New Balance trend originated, but I like to think it's a DMV
Let
thing.
me tell you, if anyone originated the New Balance, then DMV pioneered the New Balance.
Thank you. At least the 990 series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, super into New Balance. I enjoy a good J myself.
Okay, I can dig that.
I prefer the 1 through 13.
All right.
I feel like there's a guy who designed.
Up until maybe 6 or 7, and then after that,
well, see,
I have on 3s right now.
Okay.
Now, in
all
all
right.
fairness, for one, Brocky, you went right to Jasmine for shoes. Like, I wouldn't know anything about shoes. But let me just
Talk to me.
Let me just share this with you.
Talk to me.
When I met Jasmine, I had the top of 3 closets filled with a 3-row rack of about 70 pairs, solid, of tennis shoes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
Sir. Yes, sir.
still
So
does.
you're talking about Jordans. Now, I wasn't a Jordan guy, but I am a disciple of the Flights
Okay.
that were the predecessor to certain Jordan models.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, that's great. We're an interracial couple, and races have intricacies. So as a white guy into tennis shoes, which is not as white of a following, there were certain shoes that like it kind of made sense, like, oh, that's just a hip white guy. But if I showed up wearing foam posits, it was just like, please, try too hard. Like, it just didn't make sense. I remember having a conversation with my son one time where he's like, Dad, what about these shoes? And I was like, nah, you're a little too pale for them, son. Jordans, flights, a solid dunk, a Nike low top, you can never go wrong with those.
Yeah.
But if you go too far, it just doesn't make sense. He's trying to get me to explain. I'm like, you're 7. I can't even explain it.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. Stick with the flights.
Right. It's like relax a little bit.
Right? You know? But sadly, as we got into this, the wife even at one point was like, honey, she didn't say like I'm gonna have to redress you, but she was like, what are you selling? You know, and you're leaning on your country roots. And so she started to like take away some of my polos and start handing me a few more Carhartts when it was time to go shopping. I was like, yeah, I don't really care. I'll wear whatever she wants or whatever. So a lot of my tennis shoes have just set until my 18-year-old son, he grew up at mom's, but he decided when it was time to go to college, he was like, I'm moving in with dad.
Yeah, right.
Slowly, that collection is still in the top of the closet. I keep seeing another pair on his foot. He happens to wear the same size.
Just size.
I mean, some shoes I've worn 4 times. I got the foam inserts in them.
Out of there.
All of a sudden, they're on his feet, and I'm like, oh my God, those are collector's edition. It's like, they're really awesome, aren't they, Dad? But I'm like, you know what? The kid, he doesn't even know how fly he is. Like, those are 20 years old, been worn 4 times. I'm like, go ahead, bro.
And you know everything comes back around.
Right? So I can only imagine the looks he must be getting. He's out here with some one-off, low-top donks, and somebody's like, oh my God, what is that? Is that the black and white graffiti toe low-top donks? I think I wore them 3 times. I got the legit. It's a New York product. It's like a foam insert that keeps the toe. Everything, right?
I am legitimately pleasantly surprised. Right?
I told you.
Blown away.
I know a lot more about shoes than you expected because I'm in some. But here you need a composite.
I was going to ask you, what do you wear here?
You need something that's comfortable for the long hours on concrete. We're climbing. We do a lot of stuff by hand, so we're up and down scaffolds and ladders, dumping in 700 pounds of grain, up and down, up and down, up and down. And you need waterproof. Although, knock on wood, lately we spill nothing. Like, we spill a few drops. It's like, oh my God, mop it up. When we first started, we were having errors, leaving valves open.
All types of shit, yeah.
113 gallons of liquid was hitting the floor. In the beginning, my dad came over and said, the joke was, if you ain't spilling, you ain't distilling. but we've gotten better. But no, still, even doing certain things, pressure washing out tanks and everything. I mean, I'll be wet from the waist down.
You don't want to wear dunks and shit here with that.
Yeah, you got not only comfortable boots, but you got to have something waterproof. And Red Wing, what surprised us is we went to the facility, and when I went, I was wearing a pair of Timberlands every day, and I liked them pretty much, but I had an old injury from the police career, and I literally walked in and said, I spend like 20 hours a day on my feet. My left foot is never not in pain. Like, I've tried like all these different boots, help me. And the guy's like, oh yeah, come on over. Like, you stand on a thing, it maps where your pressure is. You walk on a little thing, and it maps the way your foot lays down. And then from there, like, so the guy actually told me, he was like, you have 1 foot's a 12 and a half, or 1 foot's an 11 and a half.
Holy shit.
1 foot is an extra wide. The other foot's a single wide. Have you been buying wide shoes your whole life? I was like, nope. I never knew. He's like, well, that's the problem. Your injury's on the outer part of the foot, and when you don't buy a wide shoe, you're squeezing your foot into something that's putting pressure right where your injury is.
Dude, I'm going to have to go see them. My right foot kills me every day after work.
I'm telling you, so...
Do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
I get in these boots, and I'm like, they're not even remotely attractive, but... You know what Red Wings are? Red Wings are like a really ugly woman, but she cooks and cleans and makes $200,000 a year. And you're like, I'm keeping it.
Nothing wrong with Red Wing. You know what? Red Wing, all good with me.
No, but you know what? When we went to Red Wing, when I went to Made in America this year, and it was supposed to be a rainy, weekend and everything. And he was like, let's go to Red Wing, let's get you some booze, waterproof, all of this stuff.
She was like,
and I was just like, nope,
enough.
not going to do it. But you know who got me through my weekend at Made in America? UGG Australia. They did.
That
they got me there.
so much sense.
They got me there. They got me through. And I appreciate the good people.
If Walker, our partner, was here, you'd be getting a dissertation on Justin's.
Oh, yeah?
That is cowboy boots. Like, in here, cowboy boots. I don't know if his feet must be made of...
Everybody has their thing, man.
Yeah.
Listen, in my first episode, my guest, his go out with the lady shoe was ostrich cowboy boots.
But he pulls it off. Like, I would look like a duck with like, bare legs.
You're not a cowboy boot kind of guy, dude.
Look, man, this has been a great episode. I appreciate you guys. Ryan, bring it in. Jasmine, fantastic meeting you guys. This has been a great episode. My saying is always stay true. And you guys definitely personify that. So everything from the ground up, by hand, I love it. So I'll be back here for tours, even though I've seen the place already. I'm going to do it again.
We know you're coming back when that port finished cask whiskey comes out.
I'll be here buying it.
What bottle am I getting? 3, 4. I know you're keeping 1 and 2. One's going to Jazz and 2's going on the shelf.
Indeed.
Masquerading is 1. So how low of a number can I get that?
So look.
Hey.
Cheers, guys. You guys are awesome. Whiskey and cake.
This is Mr. Clean, and you're standing by Old Dirty Bastard.
Oh, DD.
And I mean, officially they're, BDBC00. Well, they have serial numbers and stuff in the treasury. But what we found was perfectly identical. Everything was identical. And this guy ran lower heat, slower, and makes cleaner alcohol. That guy runs hotter, faster, and he'll always get a better yield, but like, it'll be like a little hazy or something. So, Jazz remarks, she's like, that's kind of like you and Walker's personalities. Like, you got Old Dirty over there, he's like, ready, fire, aim. Like, I'm gonna make some liquor. And then Mr. Clean's over here like, low and slow, get the job done. She's like, that's fucking funny. The skills are like you guys. Yeah, we have Mr. Clean and Old Dirty. So when we do beer strips, of course, we run them both. But most of if I'm doing like small batch finishing runs, when I'm doing real hard attention on the whiskey, the last distillation, I tend to lean towards Mr. Clean because I know he's going to give me just a little bit cleaner taste profile. Okay. And I tend to stay away from Mr. Dirty for Old Dirty there for finishing runs.
So you did some manual shit with these.
Yeah, man, this is my design. You can't buy this still anywhere. It's a Franken still. I designed these in a police car in the middle of the night on notebook paper, and during the day I'm calling engineers I went to high school with, like, hey, I'm gonna send you my handwritten thermodynamics on 7 pieces of paper. Can you double check my math? And I read probably 100 engineering white papers on hot water heater design, because these are electrically fired. And then I went back to my old chemistry texts, and I spent countless hours reading about the distillation, theoretical plates, and vapor flow path diagrams, and I put it all together. And the best part about designing your own item, I mean, the boiler pot is 130-gallon stainless steel shipping drums with ferrules welded in where specified. The cones we had made in Tennessee, and all the modular clamped-together components all came from a still company called Still Dragon. These collection vessels were just, we used to collect in 5-gallon buckets, and then you'd have a stack of 5-gallon buckets in the middle of the room, and I was like, oh, we can't do that. So and this was just another thing. I was like, get a couple of used stainless drums, have all the ports welded where I want them, and but the best thing about building your own thing is the instruction manual is right here. You know how to run it the day you put it together. Yeah. These run like a charm, and I'll say that was 60% hard work and planning and 40% luck. Because Now, why we like modular though is that we made some changes to alter the flow path of our vapor in real time as we've seen some different things we wanted to see. Liquor, faster flow, slower flow. You don't want the vapor to go through too quick because we want to give it plenty of time to react with the copper.
Sure.
The copper, some of it is situated in the tower in a manner where it will cause the vapor to recondense the liquid, drop down to a hot plate where it will re-vaporize and move up. And every time under one heat application on the solution, that your vapor can change from vapor back to liquid, back to vapor. Every time you change from liquid to vapor, you always leave behind impurities. Because all solids are getting pure, higher percentage alcohol vapor moving up. So the copper also reacts with that alcohol and helps act as like a chemical scrubber. It reacts with acetic acid and fatty acid, proteins, aldehydes. You get a cleaner alcohol from running it over copper. So the copper does two things, the chemical scrubbing, and it's designed to retard the flow of the vapor and create additional conversions. So I mean, old school granddaddy pot still is like one conversion. You boil it, it becomes vapor, it goes back to liquid. We might have 1,000 conversions on every molecule times every run, and we run everything we do a minimum of 4 individual distillations. And everyone's like, how do you make liquor so smooth? It's science.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking about when I pour some whiskey. Science.
According to science, whiskey is a solution. And 90% of what I do is solution chemistry.
Technically, drinking a glass of whiskey is like going to college. You think about it.
Mine works. I
It's
do.
science,
I like it.
right?
I like it a lot.
Rum too.
If knowledge could only diffuse from the whiskey, no. It's what we do here. It's part science, it's part culinary arts, and it's a shitload of plumbing and scrubbing things. Everyone's like, yeah, that must be a really cool job. I'm like, every week I wash by hand about 150 buckets, a dozen 300-gallon tanks, and some of them you have to get in them to scrub them.
Yeah.
I could go without that.
Man, life could be worse. I'll tell you that much.
No, that's true.
That's true. Beautiful. This is a great thing. So I appreciate it, man. It's great.